we got to do a little Tigers recap. I'm about to turn the Tiger game on right now, actually, because they are, in fact, playing a baseball game, and they ended up winning yesterday. So I'm in a bit of a happier mood with the Tigers. But Sunday against the Twins, Nick Maton, the single worst baseball player in baseball, basically lost the game. Through an error in the late games, it tied it up. Twins ended up winning the game in extra innings. Now, I think I need to do a deep dive on Nick Maton. And this is going to be shocking for some people who don't watch Tiger baseball. Nick Maton, in many ways, one of the worst baseball players ever born. Ever. Truly, historically, astronomically terrible. Okay? So, looking at his Fangraphs page right now. He played this year more games in a single season in the major leagues than he ever had. Played 72 games, 239 plate appearances, 6 home runs, 23 runs, 23 RBIs. It's interesting that those numbers are the same, but that's what he was. No stolen bases. So he can't steal bases. Okay, not a base runner. He had a 13% walk rate. Okay, it's pretty good. A 25.5% K rate. 1 out of every 4 times he would step up to the plate, he'd get a strikeout. He had a batting at BAPIP, and I'm going to get into some of the nerdy stats here. He had a batting average on balls in play of 199. I don't think for people who don't know what that stat means. Stat basically means when you hit the ball and it's in play, it's not foul. This is your average. He had a 199 average on balls he hit in play. How does that even happen? I mean, you can't even hit above the Mendoza line when you're hitting the ball in play, and you're already striking out a quarter of the time. His regular batting average was 163, well below the Mendoza line. His on-base percentage was 289. That's not good. His slugging percentage, 287. His WRC plus, that is weighted runs created plus. So runs created is, basically how many runs do you create? Essentially, how many runs are you ultimately responsible for? And the plus just means it's an average, where 100 is average, everything below is below average, everything above is above average. Was 67. That was his WRC plus. That means he was well below league average in creating runs for this team. Not accounting for the ballpark he plays in, not accounting for the pitching, just him alone, no biases, nothing. WRC plus was a solid 67, well below league average, well below anything, well below every standard metric. He had a WAR, according to Fangraphs, of negative 0.9. Now, WAR is wins above replacement. So what that means is, how many wins does this player generate more than random player in the league? It's sort of a complicated, it's a little more complicated than that, but that's generally what it is. If you take player A and player B, if you swap them, how many wins would you have over the swap? So I guess we'll use a simple example. Babe Ruth versus me. Okay. Babe Ruth is probably going to have a bazillion wins above me. If I replace Babe Ruth, the losses that the wins that you would lose from that are very high. Therefore, Babe Ruth has a high wins above replacement if I'm the only replacement. Now, obviously, this is based upon all baseball players that are replacement level. Negative 0.9. That means you could take him out of the game, leave nobody there, and you would probably win more games, right? I mean, like, negative, that means he's giving you a loss, basically. You are losing, essentially, by having him play, as opposed to having some other guy play. Now, for anyone who's interested in Fangraphs, one of the things that Fangraphs does, they do projections. They have the Zips projection, the Steamer projection, the BAT X projection, all these projections. They're basically just different systems for where they compile some sort of stats. There's an algorithm for determining how well they think a player is going to do a particular year. Sometimes it's right, sometimes it's wrong. Usually it's probably in the middle. Zips projection is pretty much the one that I'm most familiar with. I don't really know how it works, but we're just going to go with the Zips projections, okay? So, for one, the Zips projection had him. He's outdone the Zips projection in home runs. He's got 6 home runs. Zips projected him to have 5. Okay, that's fine. He also outdid the Zips projection in RBIs, 23-20. Okay, so far so good. His walk rate also higher than the Zips projection. They had him at 10.8. He's at 13%. Again, so far so good. This is where things start to get a little scary. Okay. Also, he has the K rate, but it's by 0.3%. It's not really much of anything. His projected batting average and balls in play was 269, which is not great, but it's a lot better. It means when you hit the ball in play, about a 25% chance you get a hit. Okay, I mean, not great, but not amazing. Not great, but not terrible. Was 269. He couldn't even get that. He missed that by, magnitudes, orders of magnitude. He was wrong off of that. His Zips projected batting average was 209, which is already terrible. They projected him to have a bad batting average, and he still didn't meet that expectation. A 302 on base, also very not good. Still couldn't meet it. A 341 slugging, not very good. Still couldn't make it. He was a projected 0 WAR player, and by golly, he didn't make it. But don't worry, things get much worse. Don't worry. I want to pull up his baseball reference page, just because it gives his OPS, which I haven't mentioned. So OPS this year was 576. I mentioned his slugging and his on-base percentage. You could have just added them up. But just to give you the number, just so you don't have to do the math, 576. Now, where does that put him in OPS plus? Now, it's the same principle as WRC plus. It's just OPS, but averaged out. And the average is 100. Below 100 is below. Above 100 is above. His OPS plus was 62. Well below average. Well below average in OPS. Now, all of this is just numbers, right? You can't necessarily figure where he stands just from those numbers. Just because, for one, where does he rank relative to other players? Well, luckily for us, we have Baseball Savant, which is a wonderful website as far as advanced stats and where players rank in relativity to said advanced stats. So, we have his stats here. And these, I can show the standard stats. It doesn't actually put the percentiles on those, but the StatCast ones, we can get. So, he was in the 7th percentile in average exit velocity. That means average speed at which he hits the ball. He was in the 23rd percentile in max exit velocity, 16th percentile in hard hit percentage. He was in the 1st percentile in expected batting average. That means he was the very bottom. The only thing that he was actually really good was his walk percentage. He was actually in the 91st percentile in the walk percentage. He was one of the best hitters in terms of walk rate in baseball. And despite that, he still was one of the worst baseball players in the league. He was in the bottom 7% of the league in exit velocity, the bottom 1% of the league in expected batting average, the bottom 8% in expected slugging, the bottom 5% in WOBA, the bottom percent of ex-WOBA bacon. I don't even know what that is, but he was at the bottom. All of this is to say, Nick Maton was bad, and he played for the Tigers for a lot of games. Let me see if can I get. He played for. He had 239 plate appearances with the Detroit Tigers, and that was what he hit. Those were his numbers. Can't make this. Can't make it up. You can't make it up. So, okay, I don't know. Who knows what's going on with the Tigers? They brought up Tyler Nevin in exchange for Nick Maton. Tyler Nevin is yet to play, I think. I don't think he was in the lineup today. So far, off to a fantastic start. Yeah. So that's that.